What is up, folks? Welcome to the latest episode of the Harold McBasketball Show, coming at you live and in HD. I'm your gracious host, as always, Harold McBasketball, along with my co-host, I Know Ball Paul, and our frequent special guest, Sean Mack. What's up, boys? How are you?
I'm feeling great. Obviously, Harold is here in person. He has flown over from Houston to celebrate Christmas with his lovely family, and now we can do an in-person podcast. And Sean joining is just the cherry on the cake. He looks handsome. His lighting is good. What do you say, Sean?
I'm glad you think the lighting is good because I had to play around with that actually for quite a while before I joined up. I was having some technical difficulties, but glad to see it worked out. Yeah, no, but I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here. I appreciate the opportunity again to be on the show. Excited to got a lot to talk about. A lot of stuff's going on in the NBA now. We're really in the thick of it now. It's been long enough through the season where we can really start getting into it.
I remember I was watching back the last episode you were on. I think it was the Harden Maxi one or whatever, but your lighting progressively getting darker as the sunset, and you were basically
down to nothing.
We couldn't see you at one point. It was funny, but
yeah,
Twitter was going crazy.
Oh yeah, the fans were letting you have it for sure.
What can I say? Sometimes when I'm at work, that happens too. Like I'll be on a client call that will start at like 4, and by the time the call's over, it's like you can't see me anymore. But oh well.
Only the best for the podcast, though.
Exactly.
Being very prepared, more so than your clients.
Yeah, there's priorities. There's a tiering to who gets preference.
Anyway, the agenda for today, I think we're going to do a quick Knicks Raptors trade talk that sent OG to the Knicks with Malachi Flynn, I believe, as well, was part of the deal. And maybe, I think that was it.
Precious Achiuwa as well.
Oh, yeah, Precious. Yeah. And then RJ and Quickly, and I think a second round pick.
Yeah, second rounder.
Going to Toronto. So we're going to give our opinions there. Then we're going to do way too early awards. That should be fun. Just the main awards. We're not going to get too deep into the all NBA, all defensive, just the big awards. And then finally, we'll do a bit of trivia to round it off if we have time. But I have a fun little segment planned that could go very well or very poorly. I'm not sure.
We'll make time for trivia. We have to.
Anyway, so shall we?
Let's break down the trade. Maybe we start with the Knicks when it comes to the trade, because I guess they definitely gave up a lot and got back OG, which is kind of huge for them. Definitely like a good addition to the team. I think he makes a lot of sense playing with them. I think probably more so than like RJ and Quickly, although that like hurts to give them up. I think there's definitely some big pieces to let go. And definitely gives them less to play around with when they try to make a bigger splash at some point. But I think objectively, like I think OG is the better fit with this offense. You've already got 2 really good scorers between Brunson and Randall. So it was kind of an awkward fit with Barrett. And then Quickly is going to be a free agent. So he has to get paid this offseason. It's probably going to be expensive. So from a team building perspective, I do think it makes sense for them. It's like OG, great defender, great 3-point shooter, good fit on the team. So I think overall it kind of makes sense for the Knicks.
Sean?
It's tough for me to grade this one because I agree with everything that you said, Harry, and I think that from a team building perspective, from a fit perspective, like this was the move that they needed. This was the type of player that they really needed to round out their roster, but it's like it doesn't raise their ceiling, in my opinion, which is kind of what's tough about this deal is like if Jalen Brunson's your best player, at best you're a second round exit. I'm sorry, that just is what it is, and it's like kind of tough because the Knicks have, especially in the last 2 seasons, they're kind of doing everything correct. Like Brunson was a great signing. This trade for Anunoby has been great. Even getting rid of what's his name, like Obi Toppin for draft compensation, stuff like that to free up minutes for other players who they needed to give more development to. Like these are all the right moves. I think honestly, what hamstrings them is the Randall contract and him as a player in general. Now it's like okay, like you have all these pieces around Randall who are like perfect and it makes sense. And they have this really solid defensive philosophy now, but it sucks because now like how do you go forward from this? How, like it's like very similar to me and how I feel about like the Hawks, where the Hawks have kind of done the same thing where they have a lot of these really solid pieces around Trae Young, but you kind of know that like they're never going to be better than that second round exit tier of a team.
Yeah.
And it's too bad because the Knicks fans definitely deserve a lot better. And those other pieces around Randall, they're great players, but it's tough because and I'll say this: if I was a Knicks fan, I would rather them at least try this and show, like, give the effort to just work with what they got to get as far as they can with these guys. They're not so far into it yet where they're screwed if like they did a move like this. But it's tough because I just don't think it really moves the needle for them. Like the Celtics, the Bucks, the Sixers. I'd even put Miami, Cleveland, and probably a year Indy will be better than them, like definitively better.
Hey, they beat Cleveland last year. People forget.
They did.
That was a
No,
hell
they
of a series,
definitely
dude.
they did.
They kicked their ass.
They did, and it depends obviously if Mitchell stays long term. But I feel like at minimum, those other 4+ Indy in a year will definitely be better than them.
Yeah, I think it's well said. I think the biggest issue with it is that you give up like two really good pieces in RJ Barrett and quickly, and you get back a good player in Anunoby, who if you're trying to build a championship team is good to have. But it's also just like two less assets you have to like go out and try to get somebody. So if they are eyeballing Donovan Mitchell, like the trade doesn't look as good now without Barrett and quickly in it because those are kind of like the young pieces that you get back with the picks to jumpstart your rebuild, which is why it's awesome for the Raptors also because I love that they get back these two young pieces to rebuild with. But it makes it a little bit harder for like the Knicks to make a move later now. Because I doubt they would move Anunoby then in a deal to get a better player because I think they kind of see him as a part of a championship team. So all of a sudden you're talking like Randall and like 3 or 4 first round picks from the Knicks who are not going to be a lottery team. So they do have less ammo now. And it does feel like they could just be capping their ceiling.
They
Yeah.
also I was just gonna say they also can't trade Anunoby because he's an expiring. They have to either re-sign
Yeah,
him in the offseason or let him walk.
I imagine if you're giving up Barrett and quickly, that you're definitely gonna match whatever contract is offered in free agency. Like I'm expecting that like Anunoby is like gonna get a good deal from the Knicks to keep him around. If they lose him, it's a disaster. But there's no way they're gonna let that happen. Like they wouldn't give up quickly and Barrett if they were just gonna take Anunoby as a rental.
Yeah, I feel like they're gonna have to pay him 30 or something.
Yeah, I think so.
Um, no, I think you guys put it very well because this doesn't make them contenders and it kind of makes their path to becoming contenders even harder. Um, I think the biggest thing to them becoming contenders is somehow getting rid of Randall and getting another superstar. But I think the Knicks now are like a really, really good team. I think they're not contenders. I think it's hard to see them, like you said, making it out of the second round. But I love this team. I love the roster. I think OG is an upgrade as of right now over Quickly and Barrett. I like Hartenstein uh, a lot, and I don't know the Knicks. I think are vibes right now. Dante DiVincenzo's been playing a lot better, and it's just a really well-rounded roster. Very good defensively and offensively. I think they have great pieces too. So I think as a short-term play, it's good. For Knicks fans, it's good. But like you said, the ultimate goal of winning a championship, it doesn't move the needle, and if anything, it makes it a bit harder giving away those assets.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting too is kind of to your point, Harry, is now like the big whenever you heard any of these Knicks trade offers, whether it was for Donovan Mitchell or Joel Embiid or Giannis or any of the guys that were kind of in that conversation in the offseason, the package was always either Barrett or Quickly, and then Randall was most likely involved in that too to make salaries match. Now you, like you said, you can't do that anymore because the two guys that you had on your roster that had any trade value besides Brunson, who's untouchable, I presume, you can't they're gone now. So now you have to re-sign OG, like we said, or it's a complete failure. And at that point, then you're hamstringing money that you would have possibly given to another one of these other superstars. And with the new salary cap distribution system coming in, I believe this offseason, or it may already have come in, it's going to be so much harder for them now to trade players, make the salaries match, and then somehow have Brunson on a near max. OG is going to get at least 30 million a year, and then if you miraculously are able to swindle some team into taking Julius Randle for another like superstar caliber player, you have no money left. Quentin Grimes is walking. DiVincenzo, you're not re-signing him. Like, it's tough. I feel bad for Knicks fans, honestly, because it's kind of like, yeah, that's tough. Tough spot to be in.
Yeah, what's tough is I think is like it's like Barrett kind of barely he makes about 25 million a year. So he barely makes enough to where you kind of like package Barrett with other pieces to work up to about a $40 million contract. And maybe make a trade happen that way, and the team can still be happy getting a player like Barrett who has upside. But for example, like Cat is someone that they've been looking after for a while.
Right.
Like the Timberwolves are trying to win. Like they're not going to take Randall. Like maybe Barrett could have worked, but like you're really hamstrung with trying to move Randall because you can really only use him as contract filler. Like nobody's trading for Randall expecting their team to get better by taking him. Mm-hmm. So it puts them in a tough spot. And like maybe there's going to be a holding pattern until because Randall and Donovan Mitchell's contracts expire at the same time. It's like maybe the hope is that you do kind of a switcheroo there. But then if your team's just Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson and OG Anunoby, you're still just not that good. So I don't really know what they do. It feels like they're hamstrung. I don't really see the path to becoming a championship caliber team, especially how deep the East is right now. So they're in a tough spot. It's like I think surface level, like the deal makes sense and it's a fair trade, but I don't think it does a whole lot for this Knicks team right now. And it kind of makes it clear that they're in a bit of a tough spot right now.
Yeah. No, it's like Cavs 2.0, and that's in that point if you get Mitchell too, because it's like two score first guards who don't really play a whole lot of defense.
Yeah, very Hawks-esque. Like so I'd say where it's like, and I've said this for a while that I just like don't think the two guard lineups work. So like if they were to get Mitchell, like cool, but then I think you still need another piece, and I just don't see how you make all those big moves together, especially now that you just have less assets at your disposal.
Yeah.
But at the very least, I think they'll be a good team.
Yeah, and I think they're more fun this year and next year. As much as I love RJ Barrett, I think it was kind of a weird fit on that team. You can only have so many score first lefties on your team. So between like Randall, Brunson, and Barrett, that was kind of a lot. I don't think Barrett could unlock his full game playing behind both of them. So I like it for Barrett. I think OG's a better fit with the Knicks than Barrett was. So I think it makes sense, and I think it makes a lot of sense for the Raptors. So we kind of dive into that now too.
Real quick, when does Randall's contract expire? Because
I was just
next off season.
I think he's got. I think it might be
so not this one.
Actually.
The end of next year, maybe.
Let's see.
So
he's got this season, next season, and he has a player option in the last year.
Oh.
So it's like there's still a lot of time left with Randall, and like and like the contract's not like insane. Like it's like 30 million a year in the last year, which is actually like pretty good for the NBA now, for like a player who scores like as much as he does. Like his stats are amazing.
Merciful.
So it's not a terrible deal, but like when you kind of watch Randall and like see how he contributes to winning, it's gonna be tricky to move.
Sometimes he's awesome.
Sometimes he is awesome, and like maybe there's a team out there that maybe there's like a middling market out there that's just dying to get any kind of good player. So maybe he's still movable towards the end of that deal. Maybe he improves, but I kind of doubt it. Like he's gonna be 31 by the end of that contract. So like right now is like when he would be hitting his prime. Like he's not a young coveted player anymore. You kind of get what you get with Randall at this point.
They need to swindle someone, as Sean said.
Yes.
Because like it feels like they have amazing role players. It's like they just need some star, ideally a forward, because they have so many like really good role players and pieces to put around a star. But easier said than done. And Randall is clearly not that star.
I also kind of feel like losing Quickly in the deal is kind of underrated too. Like Quickly is really good. Mm-hmm. Like he was very close to sixth man last year. Good try getting it this year. Felt like he was like always going to be in the running for that award. Super talented, great spark plug off the bench. So it's like you're losing like two really good scorers on this team now for OG. I still think it's a decent trade, but yeah, you are losing a little bit of depth with this move as well, and just you're losing like two really strong contributors for your team.
Mm.
Yeah, it makes me very curious, I guess, segueing into the Toronto side of things now. Like OG was, I mean, a lot of people thought that either him and or Siakam were going to get traded last year. So it's interesting to see that first domino falling for Toronto, and whether or not they go all in now. Do they trade Siakam too? Do they get rid of like everybody besides Barnes? I know obviously they just signed Pirtle to that big extension, so he kind of can't really be moved very either.
I still kind of like Pirtle too.
Yeah, he's a good player, but like I'm very interested to see what they do with Siakam now. He's finally started to play the way that I expected him to when I drafted him in fantasy. Like in the last like 2 or 3 weeks, he's been really good. And I don't know if it's the kind of thing where he's starting to recognize like the writing on the wall, and he's probably maybe just trying to play his way into a better team. Who knows? But
Yeah, and into a contract because he's expiring this year too, so he's got to make sure he's got a good showing this year to secure the bag during the off season.
right. Um, yeah, because now like I mean his playmaking I always thought was going to take another leap, and it never really did either. So you have him, you have now Barrett and Quickly, who are all three. They do different things, but they're all kind of the same in that their primary focus is just really scoring. So I feel like Siakam probably is gone at this point, and they rebuild around Scotty, who's been incredible this year, and then I assume Barrett will probably end up staying at least just because of the Canadian connection.
Yep. Yeah,
That's
love that
probably
for Toronto. That is like such a little special part of this deal.
Yeah.
yeah,
We get RJ Barrett going back to Canada, especially because he plays so well when he's playing for Canada. Like he played awesome this summer. When he's playing for the Canadian team. He became a legend in high school when he played for the
right.
Canadian national team that like dismembered the absolutely insane Team USA that year, and he dropped like 40 something. Looked dominant. Looked like Kobe out there with like his mid range shot, getting to the free throw line.
That
Like,
must have been the U18 or something.
yeah,
though.
yeah, but like it was still incredible. And
That was many years ago.
yeah, he looked awesome though, and he's amazing at Duke too. He's shown a lot of good flashes for the Knicks, so I do like the idea of him coming to a team where he will have more opportunity to score. I think
Yeah.
Siakam being gone is like a done deal at this point.
Yeah.
Like I've already heard reports that like yeah, the Raptors are going to look to move him. He's expiring. It's clear this team is going in a new direction at this point now. So I think he'll be gone. I don't think it'll be interesting to see where he goes to. Like there are definitely some contenders that would get better by adding him. Dallas is like the big one I've circled. Don't know how they would do it, but he's expiring, so I don't think he's gonna require that many draft picks to acquire.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be an awesome fit there, so we'll see. But kind of talking
Uh,
about the immediate move. Oh, do you have any notes for that, Sean?
no, I not necessarily, but thinking about Dallas, I guess I ruled out personally just because of their lack of assets. But thinking about that fit, that would totally be a Mark Cuban move for them to just say like, "Fuck it, we're gonna try, one last go." Because I feel like this season's kind of like if the Mavericks don't at least make like a conference finals. I know we're kind of going on a tangent here, but like if they don't make a conference finals, like he's gonna have a longer conversation, I think, in the offseason with management because yeah, I think that would be interesting. Siakam on Dallas with him and Kyrie, that'd be cool.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But assuming he does get moved, like it is going to open up a ton of scoring opportunities for Barrett because he's essentially going from a team that's got Brunson, who's one of the top scorers in the league. I think he's averaging probably like 28 or 29 points per game. Randall's getting like 23. Both probably add up to a usage of like 50% per game. So all of a sudden, if he goes to a team where the leading scorer is, Scotty Barnes at 21 points per game, like there's a ton of opportunity for him to score more, handle the ball more. He's probably more like a number 2 option on that Raptors team. So I think that does a lot for him. This is kind of be the year to prove it, to prove that he is an awesome prospect and can be efficient. So we will see, but I like the gamble. And then you also get Quickly, who's shown a lot of potential, awesome scorer. Maybe he can get a bigger role too. I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to start him at shooting guard, maybe move Schroeder to the bench and do him a point guard, something like that. But I think it's good, and I think it's a good amount of assets for Toronto as well, because I know there was like rumblings of them maybe getting like 3 first round picks, 4 first round picks from Anunoby last year. I don't know how true that ever was, but I still think getting like Barrett back and quickly back, I feel like that's the equivalent of getting like 3 first-round picks because like there's no guarantee that they all hit. So you're kind of getting 2 guys that are definitely worth first-round picks, and they're guaranteed contributors, like they're guaranteed like hit picks. So I think it's good value for Anunoby, and I think that was probably about his ceiling for his value.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I'm going to be watching the Raptors a lot. For some reason, I just love this deal for them as far as just making them a more fun team. I love quickly. I think he's already banished Schroeder to the bench. I think he has secured the starting job.
Yeah.
Barrett, like you said, the Canadian connection is there, and he's on a contract, I think, for 3 or 4 more years. I think he just signed a massive contract. So, whether Siakam walks or if they can find some return for him in the near future. I think Toronto is set up pretty well as a rebuilding team, with a lot of fun pieces, and they're kind of maybe a piece away or a big trade away from, I think, being a really good team. And I kind of expect them to be frisky now for the rest of the year. Maybe get into the play-in or something. I know they're a little far behind, but for whatever reason, this trade makes me kind of a Raptors fan now. I love them. I love Schroeder. I love Quickly. I like RJ. Scotty, I was so wrong about, and now I love him. Like, so wrong about him, but Jesus Christ, that he's fun to watch play. Hurdle sucks.
I think Hurdle's an awesome defender. He's great. I've seen the potential.
He's okay, yeah.
But yeah, I think that Hurdle tangent. It is kind of clear that like if you can't get 30 plus minutes per game on this Raptors team right now, then like maybe you're not that good. So we'll see. That one's definitely
Sam Pirtle.
Yeah. The Raptors are a fun team right now though, and I love we got an early trade too, because I usually don't get to see this stuff until the trade deadline. But now it's early in the year. We have 2 brand new look teams that we get to be excited about. See how they glue together. So it's super fun having this happen so early in the year.
I love it. Yeah, new look teams are so fun, and watching OG in his debut, he played really well.
He looked awesome, and he looks good in a Knicks uniform too. Like
he does.
It feels like a good fit.
I saw a tweet that was like, he doesn't wear any accessories. He's a great defender. He's just like Tibbs. That's perfect for Tibbs.
Yeah,
he loves those no bullshit.
Made in a lab for Tom Thibodeau.
No pun intended there.
Oh,
I got
anyway.
No, we got
any that one over my head. But closing thoughts for the deal.
Like it for the Knicks. Feel like it doesn't do a ton for them in the long term, but a fine move. Love it for the Raptors. They get 2 young prospects. If one of them can just hit a little bit more than where they're at right now, just improve a little bit from here, then it's a total home run. And it just gets the rebuild started for them, which they clearly needed. They didn't waste too much time, although like maybe they should have moved pieces last year, but better now than too late. And like they've kind of finally figured out they need to do the rebuild. So I think it's coming at a good time. And yeah, I love it for the Raptors. I think it's incredible.
Agreed. Same exact thoughts.
Yeah, I'd say if we're doing like the standard letters system, I'd give the Knicks like a B.
Ooh, like
because it's like it was like an objectively good move from a, like we talked about, team building perspective, but long term doesn't move the needle and might have implications for them as far as building long term. And then the Raptors, I think it's at least like a B plus to an A minus right now, just off the bat, and easily could be like an A or an A plus, even if one of those guys ends up getting to be of like equal value to what Anunoby was when he left the
both
Raptors.
Are great dart throws.
Yeah, so like even if one of them hits, you at least got your value back, and if both of them end up being like quality long-term rotation players at minimum for the Raptors, yeah, I really don't see how, like you said too, Harry, it's like you could have gotten 3 first-round picks for him or something like that, but there's no guarantee any of those picks hit. This is like near best case scenario for a first-round pick hitting is getting like an RJ Barrett. That's a pretty good player. Like I wouldn't be upset if that's what I got as a GM.
Totally. And like all the talks were like I think like the Grizzlies were interested. So like,
yeah,
would you rather like these 2 guys, like 3 first-round picks from the Grizzlies, like probably all going to come in the 20s? Like you'll take these guys. Like you would be like it would be an amazing draft stretch to get like two guys of this caliber that late in the draft. So I think they nailed it. I've read a lot of reports too that like people are like infatuated by Quickly. Like a lot of people are like Quickly might be the best player in this deal very quickly. Not even that many people are talking about Barrett, who I think also has a good chance to potentially be the best guy in the deal. So we'll kind of see how it works out. But if one of them can even get close to like Anunoby's value, you know, it's a total home run. And even without it, like even as is, I think it's a good deal.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, Quickly could pop off. I mean, he's been playing.
Totally,
He's been playing behind Brunson, who's such a good player, and we saw in stretches last year without Brunson, he was ridiculous, and he can defend. He's a great defender. So
Yeah, and like you gotta think if he's starting now, like naturally, he's just gonna be able to show more of his game, take more shots, run the offense a little bit more. So even without like improving as a player, like I think we're gonna see his stats go up a ton just by being inserted into the starting lineup and getting more usage with the Raptors. So this deal is gonna look awesome.
Yeah.
awesome.
Agreed.
All right. We got 10 minutes left in the Zoom. Let me close that annoying ass notification. Do we want to do awards?
Yeah, should we do the awards in like a part two? Just that we
Yeah.
can run through all of them
And I say we try to get through them kind of quickly
and then do trivia.
and then do trivia.
Yep, I'm in.
All right, let's part two this. Actually, let's just end this video and I'll make it into 2 videos so I can milk the ad revenue.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
We don't get ad revenue, but it's been another episode of the Harold McBasketball Show. These were our trade reactions, and we'll be back with an award show and trivia episode. Stay tuned, like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. Yeah, we end it with peace and love.